the end result we were expecting. At the same time, there were things in the game that took me by surprise. Things offensively, we'll talk about those. Plus, we got to be one step closer to seeing Justin Fields start. And we got out there on the field throwing throws around, a little bit of that game. Let's see how Coach Fields started. What? He will be checking in the White Sox tonight as they take on the Bengals. That magic number gets ever lower. All that and more. Sit down, step it in, have some fun. Chi-Town Weekly. Let's go. Welcome on into another episode of Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Thank you again for jumping on in and joining us tonight, whether you are listening live either on Spreaker or listening in on Twitter Spaces. I am just very glad that you are here, and we will, without any further ado, let's get going. And of course, we have to get started by acknowledging our sponsors here at IE Sports Radio. First up, the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team. The Warriors took a tough one last week, 38-8 loss to the Inland Empire Kings. They are now at 2-2 on the season. However, they will be back in action this coming weekend on the road against the Riverside Disciples. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organization. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get filmed to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you have been waiting for as an athlete. Find them on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, Instagram at Southern California _Warriors, or Facebook, just search Southern California Warriors. And then Background Check International Business. Are you looking to background check a new hire on? Let Kit Freeman take care of that for you. Kit founded and has managed Background Check International since 1994, and he's here to help you with the screening process. Contact Kit and let him help make the hiring process that much easier. This business is used for professional background checks and not for the use of any crimes such as identity theft or any other illegal activity. You can go to their website, bcint.com, or find them on Facebook, Background Check International-BCI. And then IE Sports Radio, we of course are available on all of the major social platforms. Twitter at IE Sports Radio, Instagram at IE Sports Radio, Facebook search IE Sports Radio, or head over to our website, iesportsradio.com. This show is also active on Twitter. You can find our Twitter handle at IESRC. And then if you want to follow along with my personal Twitter feed, you can do that at Adam_Karnick. With all that said, let's dive on into it. Good evening, Davidson. I see he's in the chat room here on Spreaker. What's good? Well, not the Bears this past weekend. That was a rough one to get started. Not shocking end result. I had thought going into the week that they were going to have a very tough time winning this one. I had a couple weeks ago, I had predicted the Rams would be the eventual NFC champion and make it all the way to the Super Bowl. So a tough opponent to catch right out of the gate, especially with a new quarterback and some new players that having to mix and match along the offensive line. I felt that this was a tough matchup all the way around for the Bears. I had predicted a little bit closer of a final score. I think I had said somewhere in the neighborhood of 24 or 27 to 13. So the Rams got a little bit more than I expected. The Bears were just about right on course there for a point spread. There were some positives though, and I guess that's as good a place as any to start is with the positives. For the Bears, offensively, going through so far, no 3 and outs in the game. That was surprising to me. Didn't have necessarily a ton of third down conversions. Finished 5 of 11 on third down for the game. Most, if not all, of those came in the second half. But at the same time, you didn't have any of the classic, traditional, horrible first down, throw an incomplete pass, second down, run and gain a yard, 3rd and 9, throw an incomplete pass, and now you're punting and you took all of 45 seconds off the clock, and now your defense is right back out there. Their shortest drive play-wise was actually the opening drive, 5 plays, and ended with the interception from inside the 10-yard line. The interception that Dalton threw there in the opening drive. That was their shortest drive play-wise. Then 6, 7, 9. Then the first one to kick off the second half, 16 play drive, 13 play drive following up that one, and finally the last drive for the Bears was a 6 play drive. So they were not. So they were being productive in that they were at least staying on the field. You weren't tiring the defense out by just going out there 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Which is going to be important because this defense is going to need all the help it gets. And that leads into kind of the bad from week 1 of I had been feeling heading into the season that I felt nationally the Bears defense was being a little bit better respected because of its reputation, that it's kind of being propped up because the Bears always have a good defense. Of course they're strong defensively. That's just who and what they are. They're a strong team. I had felt that they were getting a little bit too much love nationally from some people, and boy, they unfortunately kind of proved me right on Sunday night. The Bears defense, this is not an elite unit anymore. It was an elite unit a couple years back. This is not an elite unit, and unfortunately, it starts in the secondary. I remember reading an article from 538 a couple of years ago, a couple of seasons ago. If you're not familiar with 538, it's not necessarily the easiest to read and dissect, but they do a fantastic job of really diving into the statistics and the analytics of what makes things tick. It's great for sports. And they did an article where they talked about how conventional wisdom anymore in the NFL is that, you need a pass rush, that your pass rush is how you disrupt things as a defense. And they said, well, actually, the data shows that a pass rush really benefits from a strong secondary. That if your secondary isn't that good or strong or lockdown, then your pass rush just isn't going to be as effective. And it's because of how quickly teams are getting the ball out. And you saw some of that on Sunday night. Matthew Stafford was repeatedly 2.5 seconds, 2 seconds, less than 2 seconds. He was getting the ball out of his hands, and the Bears pass rush was not able to get home, and the Bears secondary was getting absolutely torched by it. You saw the two plays in particular, of course, the two long touchdown throws that Matthew Stafford had, one on the opening drive to oh shoot, I forgot the receiver's name now. Van Jefferson. I knew it started with a V. The long throw to Van Jefferson from 67 yards, and then the long bomb to start the second half to Cooper Kupp, the 56-yard bomb. And both of those, you just saw the secondary not be able to hold up. I saw a good breakdown earlier today from Dan Durkin on YouTube, where he actually broke down both of those plays. The Van Jefferson play in the first half was the Bears were playing a cover 2 shell, which you might remember that from the Vic Fangio, not the Vic Fangio, the Lovie Smith days, where you just have your two safeties up top and they just drop straight back, and they're splitting the field sideline to sideline. And what happened on that play is Jefferson set up Eddie Jackson beautifully with the route that he ran. He got Eddie Jackson so turned around by the way he ran that route that he was just wide open in the middle. And it was a great play call against a great defense too, because Jefferson's route took him down the deep middle, which is, as we remember, one of the weak spots on the cover 2 that you need to have. That if you're running a pure cover 2, you need to have that middle linebacker there, that Brian Urlacher. Obviously, the Bears didn't have that. Still operating out of a 3-4 base, you don't have that linebacker covering the deep middle. So when Eddie Jackson got beaten on the route, there was just nobody there to cover the deep middle, and Jefferson's wide open. And then on the Cooper Kupp play, the Bears were running a cover 6, which is a combination of cover 2 and cover 4. Cover 4 is you have your two safeties and your two corners on the outside just all dropping back, and they're literally splitting the defense into quarters. You're splitting the field into 4 quarters. Hence cover 4, or sometimes it's called quarters defense. Cover 6 is you're kind of doing half and half. You're having one side of the field just being covered by a safety. The other side of the field is being covered by a corner and a safety. And what happened on that particular play, the deep one to Cooper Kupp, is you had a miscommunication between the nickel corner and Tevis Gibson, the safety on the play, of just nobody knew who was supposed to have Cooper Kupp. And Cooper Kupp got wide open. I mean, there was more than 10 yards between himself and the nearest Bears defender. That just can't happen. That's miscommunication. That's where the Bears released Kyle Fuller this offseason, and you see where they really miss having his leadership and his veteran presence there in that locker room, on that field, calling out and knowing, hey, that he's yours. This guy's your responsibility. This guy's your responsibility, and being involved that way. You miss that. Offensively, obviously, as Davidson points out here in the chat, they didn't get Allen Robinson as involved. I was disappointed in that they didn't take any deep shots. Now, to be fair, the Rams were playing a deep cover 2 shell. They were selling out to take away the deep pass. They did not want the Bears going deep. So credit Andy Dalton for the most part taking what the defense was giving him by not trying to force the issue deep. At the same time, I would have liked to have seen the Bears at least take 1, maybe 2 deep shots. Also, that was, I'm sure, part of the game plan because they were concerned with Aaron Donald and having a makeshift offensive line. You saw Jason Peters go down, and then you saw Larry Borum go down, and then Elijah Wilkinson had to come in and emergency play left tackle. So obviously some of that was schematic. You're trying to save your quarterback and not put him in a position to get killed. At the same time, you would have liked to have seen you try to push the envelope. And then all the fourth downs, I don't understand why the Bears went for it on fourth down as often as they did. I think it was ultimately 4 times they went for it on fourth down. And that just... the first couple, there were a couple where they're like, okay, all right, you're trying to see if you can generate something offensively. Okay. The one that made no sense to me was the 4th and 15 in the fourth quarter. At the time, the Bears were only down by 10. They were down by 13. So if they were in field goal range, a field goal cuts it to 10. That's useful for you. There were still 10 plus minutes left in the game. Trust your defense to make a stop and get your offense back down there and score again. And he decides to go for it. Andy Dalton hadn't completed a pass that had traveled further than 10 yards in the air all night. And ultimately they ran an out route that only went 12 yards deep. What? You're not going to win. So what the heck was the point? That to me made no sense. And then finally, the Justin Fields factor. I liked that Justin made it out on the field. I would have preferred that had been something other than the Taysom Hill role of just playing the gadget. Just playing the gadget guy. Come in for a play, run some goofy, weird, pseudo trick play, and then take him off the field. That's fine if you've got Taysom Hill, who is... that's what he is as a quarterback for the Saints. He's not your traditional quarterback. He is kind of a jackrabbit kind of guy. So if you want to do that with that kind of a quarterback, fine. Justin Fields is not a jackrabbit kind of quarterback. He is a professional, you name it, he can do it, he can run the offense kind of quarterback. So it was nice to see him out there for a few plays, but I thought the way that Nagy used him was very odd and very strange. And while Andy Dalton didn't necessarily do anything to lose the job on Sunday, it's time. It's time. Bill Lazor, the Bears offensive coordinator, made the comment earlier today that he actually felt that Fields was ready at the end of preseason. And he was asked directly, well, why hasn't Nagy put him in there then? And he kind of gave a no comment answer. It was basically, well, coach has got his idea of what needs to be done, what should be done. We're just going to kind of leave it at that. Okay, fine, whatever you say. It's time. No offense to Andy Dalton. The offense looked more competent than I thought it would. That's damning with faint praise. This is a team that's got a long way to go offensively and is gonna need its offense to carry it more than it has in years past, as the defense showed. This defense has got holes. It's got issues. Now, Eddie Goldman did practice today, so perhaps they'll be getting him back for next week. We will see and keep an eye on that. But this is a defense that you can't ask this defense to go out there and consistently week in and week out hold teams to under 17 to get the win. You're going to need an offense that's going to be able to consistently score 20, 24, 27. And I don't know that Andy Dalton necessarily gives you that. So get Justin Fields out there and let's see what he can do. All right, we are going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to kind of flip the page on week 1, and we are going to instead talk about the Cincinnati Bengals and preview the home opener against Cincinnati, the Andy Dalton revenge game. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. Back after this.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Notorious Law.
And we are the hosts of Fastbreak here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastbreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
Hey guys, it's Blake Henley, better known as H-Town Blake to some of you. Happy to announce that Faces Loaded is back in full force. We'll be bringing that high heat every Tuesday night here on IE Sports Radio. So come home, get ready, dig into that batter's box, and see if you can chase that high heat, baby. So we'll be coming to you live with all the stats, all the rundowns, all the division rivalries, and every team that's going to make the playoff push to get to that one and only October and get to the pinnacle of what baseball is, to hoist that Commissioner's Trophy when it's all said and done.
Ladies and gentlemen, hear me and hear me good. If you like sports, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. If you like comedy, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. If you like a different opinion coming from a different angle, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. So join me Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with your host, Jelani J.B. Bodie. And of course, my man Lopan on the waitaminuteshow.com. Ain't that right, Lopan?
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS. The SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. So while we were at break there, we got a final in the baseball world. The Phillies knocked off the Chicago Cubs tonight. It was 6-5 the final. Matt Duffy hit a home run in the top of the ninth to tie the game at 5, but then the Phillies walked it off. I'm trying to see how. I'm looking at the on the ESPN app, and all they have is that Philly scored. They don't say how or why or what happened. So unfortunately, I don't have exactly how the Cubs lost tonight, other than Philly had a walk-off win. I'm sure that'll make our guys over in Philly excited about that. I was talking with them last night while they were doing their show. We've got our Philadelphia show on Tuesday nights, and I was having some fun with them with the Cubs-Phillies series, and they were kind of the same feeling that myself and other Cubs fans are like at this point, where it's, yep, okay, there's a series going on. Whatever happens, happens. It's fine. We're not making the playoffs. This doesn't matter anyway. Just get us to the end. But we did get a final in there tonight, so wanted to throw that out there. Back to the Bears discussion. I see Larry hopping into the chat, and he over 3 comments. The Bears need to start Fields. Yes, it's that seems to be about the only people that don't seem to think that, unfortunately, are Matt Nagy and a couple of other people on the Bears. You're even hearing it. I mean, you look at the Bill Lazor comments from earlier today, where the Bears offensive coordinator said that, in his opinion, Justin's been ready to go since the end of the preseason. That he felt that at the end of the preseason, Justin Fields would have been capable of handling anything that the Bears threw at him. You're seeing, we've been seeing it on a national stage. We've been hearing it in the media for several weeks from people like myself and other, people who cover the team professionally, that Fields is ready. What are they waiting on? Now we're starting to see some dissension in the ranks a little bit, that players on the team and coaches on the team are recognizing and realizing that he's ready. What are we waiting for? What are you waiting for to see? What the Bears, short of $10 million, they don't owe Andy Dalton anything. All they owe him is money. He's going to get paid that whether he plays or not. Andy Dalton, you know who and what he is. He's going to be a guy that's going to keep you in a game. He's going to do just enough to keep you in a game, but he's not necessarily going to win the game for you. And the Bears, especially with the defense that they have now, that has regressed significantly due to injury and forcing to get rid of talented players for salary cap reasons, this Bears defense just isn't strong enough to carry the team like I think they thought it was. I feel like Nagy, going into this season, felt like the Bears are ready and primed right now this season to make a deep postseason run. You're talking NFC title game, Super Bowl kind of a playoff run, and you don't want a rookie quarterback. You don't want his growing pains to potentially hold you back from seeing your team's potential. And that's just a gross miscalculation of what you have here in this team. Now, the Bears might still wind up being a playoff team. I'm not going to discount that possibility after just 1 week. There's still 16 weeks left to go in this season. You've still got what used to be an entire regular season yet in front of them. So to count them out after just one game, and not only after just one game, but also every other team in the NFC North lost this weekend too. So there's absolutely no reason to think that the Bears are out of this by any means. I mean, if they win this coming week, they'll be right there at the top. Now, they won't be in first place because the Packers and the Lions play each other on Monday night. One of them has to win, and that'll be a divisional win, so that would give them the tiebreaker for whatever that counts when you're in week 2. But they'd be a win, and they're right there. They're no worse than tied for first with a win. But this team isn't. If we learned anything Sunday night, the Bears aren't in a position to play with the big boys like the Rams in the NFC. The Bears might be able to make the playoffs, but they're not going to make a deep playoff run, in my opinion, as the status quo. You throw Justin Fields in there? Maybe. I don't know. I don't want to throw that on his shoulders right now. That's not fair to him. But you know you're not getting there with Dalton. You know it's not going to happen with Dalton. All right. Speaking of week 2, there is a game this weekend. The Bears have their home opener this weekend against the Bengals. The Bengals come in, surprisingly enough, at 1-0. They beat the Minnesota Vikings over the weekend. It was an overtime game, a wild back and forth affair. At one point, the Bengals held a 21-7 lead in the third quarter, but then Kirk Cousins and company actually managed to mount a comeback. They tied the game as time expired with a 53-yard field goal, only to ultimately lose the game in overtime as time expired on a 33-yard field goal. There was controversy in the game. Dalvin Cook had a run where it appeared as if he had been tackled. Then the ball came out. It was ruled a fumble on the field. Cincinnati recovered. Replay upheld the ruling on the field, so it was Cincinnati ball. They then drove down and were able to kick that game-winning field goal. So a little bit of controversy surrounding that particular game, but the Bengals do come in 1-0. It's an Andy Dalton revenge game, I guess. I mean, it was 2 years ago now that he played for the Bengals, and he got a chance to play against the Bengals last year when he was starting in relief of Dak Prescott with the Dallas Cowboys. So he kind of already got to do that once. I'm not sure that he'll necessarily, how much that will drive him for this coming week. It might very well. It could very well be that, yeah, he wants to show up his old team very much in a big way. And if so, good for him. Let's see if that sparks something. Looking at the Bengals a little bit, this should obviously be an easier matchup than the Rams overall. Defensively, the Bengals don't do nearly the two deep safety looks like the Rams did a week ago. They prefer to go more of single high safety with more man press. That should open up some vertical routes for Allen Robinson, for Darnell Mooney, for Damiere Byrd, for all the speed that the Bears collected at wide receiver in the offseason. Marquise Brown, they have a chance now to hopefully showcase that a little bit, maybe take some deep shots down the field, try to push it a little bit. The Bengals did hold Dalvin Cook to just barely over 60 yards rushing, and that's in an overtime game that went the full 10 minutes. So you're talking in 70 minutes of football, Dalvin Cook only managed 60 yards rushing. That could be trouble for David Montgomery. Montgomery had a spectacular game last week. He was one of the huge bright spots of the offense. His touchdown run, my goodness. He got hit in the backfield and dragged Ram defenders into the end zone with him. I saw a statistic that he averaged over 5 yards after contact last week. That was easily the best in the NFL. So Montgomery was huge last week. He may have a difficult time running against this Bengals front. We will see. That'll definitely be something to keep an eye on. But hopefully what they are not able to get running, hopefully they're able to get in the passing attack and get some vertical shots down the field and try to stretch the defense a little bit, which could then potentially open up some running lanes underneath. On the flip side, the Bengals offense on the whole obviously isn't as polished as the Rams. I was looking at the final stat line. The Bengals only managed 366 yards of offense as a team. And again, this is a game that not only did it go overtime, it literally, the clock was at zeros in overtime when the game ended. So in 70 minutes of football, they only managed a little over 360 yards of offense as a team. That's kind of low. That's surprising. To put in perspective, let me get the number up here. The Rams last week against the Bears managed to put up, and I'm pulling the numbers up right now as we speak here. The Rams finished with 386 yards of offense in 60 minutes, and that was with the Bears actually holding a huge time of possession advantage. The Bears held the ball for about another 10 and a half minutes longer than the Rams did. The Bengals did that holding the ball for, they finished with, let me pull up the time of possession here real quickly for the Bengals in week 1. The Bengals had the football for just under 35 minutes. So obviously they're not going to push the ball quite the way the Rams did. At the same time, Joe Mixon finished with 127 yards rushing against the Vikings last week. That could be trouble for the Bears coming into this week. They did a decent job to start the game stopping the run, but at the same time, towards the end of the game, they were getting gashed in the running attack. Again, Eddie Goldman did practice today, so hopefully he'll be able to go on Sunday. Goldman was practicing just in a limited capacity, but still, that hopefully will bode well for him for this week. Hopefully he'll be able to make the home opener, and you'll be able to get some better run stopping ability up front there from him. Bilal Nichols and Kiris Tonga did well in relief, but you miss Eddie Goldman, so hopefully he will be able to help with that. For this game, if you want to know more about the Bengals, first of all, you can check them out. You'll learn more about them each of the next 2 nights here on IE Sports Radio. Check out Frozen Takes tomorrow night with Amanda. She handles all things Minnesota. She will, I'm sure, be doing a recap of the Vikings-Bengals game tomorrow on her show, so you can get a little bit more perspective from the Bengals there. And then also on Friday, Drew Hagenbaugh hosts the State of Ohio Sports, where he will be breaking down things, the Bengals and the Browns. So you can get a little bit more on the Bengals from him on Friday, get the hometown and the road perspective on that Vikings-Bengals matchup from a week ago. Drew is actually, I have reached out to him. He is going to be guesting with me next week, since the Bears are in a position where they're going to be spending some time against Ohio teams, hosting Cincinnati this weekend, and then traveling to Cleveland next weekend. I reached out to Drew, and he was nice enough. He's going to spend some time with us next week, recapping Week 2 and previewing Week 3 with us next week, which will be great. So, overall, this is a game the Bears can win on Sunday. You hate to call a Week 2 game a must-win, especially since everybody else in the division lost last week. But if you lose at home to the Bengals, that is going to the pressure is going to be mounting and building on Matt Nagy to do something, change something up, and the screams for Justin Fields are only going to get louder, especially if Andy Dalton and the offense has a rough game on Sunday. I will come out on Twitter with my preview for the game. You can look for that probably Friday. I will come out with that. But it should be winnable. You know, weather should be good. Fans should be back at Soldier Field for the first time since the 2019 season. So place should be rocking. Should be a lot of fun. All right, we are going to take one more quick break, and then when we come back, we are going to sneak a peek in and check in on the White Sox, see how things are doing on the south side. My name is Adam Karnick. I am your host here on Chi-Town Weekly on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio. your direct feed for all that is sports.
College football, and do you want to hear a college football show dedicated to all that is college football, including junior college in the CCCAA and in the NJCAA, the NAIA, and the NCAA, including Division III, Division II, Division I AA in the FCS, and Division I Single A in the FBS. Well then, look no further. Join myself, Larry B., and my colleagues, Mr. H-Town Blake Henley, and Mr. Christian Espinoza, each week during the college football season for the latest in college football on 3 and Out College Edition, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Scoreboard show with your host Gabriel Montoya. This is the show for soccer, football fans, or whatever you call the beautiful game. Every week I tackle the latest and greatest news from around the soccer world, from the English Premier League to the World Cup to MLS, Liga MX, and more. You can listen to the Soccer Scoreboard show and our lineup of fantastic guests every Friday at noon here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Everybody, this is Darren Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy, awesome white tea. We're coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. We've got one more segment to tackle tonight before we have to get out of the way for Marcus Losgreat and Gloves Off. Be sure to stick around for that if you are at all a fan of boxing or MMA or any of the other full contact sports. So I wanted to talk briefly about the White Sox before we got out of there tonight. Taking a look right now, it is in the bottom of the 8th inning right now against the Angels. The Sox are down 3-2. Michael Kopech gave up a home run in the top of the 8th inning to break a 2-2 tie. Dallas Keuchel started tonight, and he had a very good start. What is easily Keuchel's best start in probably the last 2 months. 6 innings, gave up just 2 runs on 6 hits, did walk 5, struck out 3, but only the 2 runs allowed in 6 innings, and nothing left the yard. You had an infield single in the 3rd inning that scored a run, and then a sacrifice fly to right scored the other run that Keuchel gave up. And then, of course, Kopech gave up a home run in the top of the 8th. Yohan Moncada hit a home run earlier tonight, and Yasmani Grandal had an RBI single. So that's where we're at right now. Bottom of the 8th, one on, 1 out. And speaking of Moncada, he's coming up to the plate right now. But overall, the Sox magic number entering the day was sitting at 7. The Indians won earlier today, so that won't drop the magic number at all. The Sox have to win tonight if they want that magic number to fall down to 6. But we might have the possibility of the Sox clinching the American League Central certainly by the time we talk next week, and possibly by the weekend, that they could be clinching. You'd have they have got to finish out this week. They finish out the series with the Angels tomorrow, and then they've got the Rangers over the weekend down in Texas, whereas Cleveland, meanwhile, has got, I'm going to bounce over to them real fast to see what their schedule looks like for the rest of this week. They've got tomorrow off, and then they are in New York to face the Yankees. That could very easily be 3 losses for Cleveland. So you could see that number. If the Sox win tonight, you could see by Sunday night the Sox officially clinch the American League Central. But I talked last week about my concerns with them of injuries, and it popped up again. They had this past week. Yes, there was great news that Lucas Giolito came off of the injured list. He actually got the start last night. Didn't go long enough to qualify for the win. He only went 4 innings, but still, he came off the injured list. He pitched well. Things were looking good. They also had Tim Anderson come off of the injured list. That's huge for the Sox to get Tim Anderson, their spark plug, back. That's fantastic. But at the same time, 2 guys come off the injured list, 2 guys took their place. Andrew Vaughn wound up on the 10-day injured list with lower back inflammation. And then also relief pitcher Ryan Tepera went on there. He's got an injured index finger on his right hand. This is starting to get annoying, bordering on worrisome for the Sox, that they just can't have their whole team together healthy at the same time. I feel like we're going to get to the end of the regular season. We're going to finally get to the start of the playoffs. And then finally, manager Tony La Russa is finally then going to have all the pieces healthy to actually use however the plan was originally supposed to be. We'll see. It could be. We might finally see what this team was supposed to look like in October, and that's a little nerve-wracking. That's a little scary to see and think about. And now, it could also be great that, hey, this team's been doing so well all season long, and now finally in the playoffs they're able to throw together what the team is supposed to look like and how well the team is supposed to do. But it's still, in the meantime, it's nerve-wracking and not great. I'd like to see them put together the team for at least the final week of the regular season so that we can see what it's supposed to look like, and La Russa can kind of get used to using guys, quote-unquote, where they're supposed to go. But in the meantime, they are still winning and working. All right, that is going to about do it for our show tonight. I want to, of course, say thank you to our sponsors here at Nagy Sports Radio. Helping break down from the Ohio perspective the Bears Bengals game of Sunday this week. We're doing a special preview of Bears Browns in week 3. Finally, thank you guys for continuing to come in and listen to the podcast, listen to the show. I really fun and talk sports with the teams that I love and the fans that I fight with like siblings, but at the end of the day, we all love each other and we all love our team. It's fun to do this with you guys. Everybody, until next week, be safe, be careful if you are going to the game this Sunday at Davidson Field. My heart is with you. I know the numbers are not looking great right now, so be careful. One other fun little bit of news before we get out here. The 16th of September was the 16th of the Kansas Day by Mayor Lois Lightfoot. So happy Kansas Birthday to everybody tomorrow, and we will see you next week.